Welcome. This is the Ag Engineering Podcast, where we talk tools, tips, and techniques to improve the sustainability of your farm. I am your host, Andy Chamberlain from the University of Vermont Extension, and this podcast is supported by Northeast SARE, providing grants and education to advance innovation in sustainable agriculture. We're trying to improve the industry by chatting with farmers and getting their input on tools, tips, or techniques that have changed the way they farm for good. Many of these practices affect multiple areas of the farm. Whether it be environmentally, emotionally, physically, or financially, we share the knowledge to promote sustainable agriculture, lifestyle, and business. Thanks for having a listen. Now, let's get started. Today's episode comes to you from a farm in Moncton, Vermont, where we meet with Silas of Last Resort Farm. He grew up on the farm, but has been farming more actively the last 8 years and even more actively the last 3 seasons now that he's signed a lease-to-own agreement. This farm does 80 acres in hay, 15 to 20 acres in fruit, vegetables, and cover crops, and currently have 3 30 by 72 high tunnels with 3 more on the way. Their markets are wholesale, retail, farm share, as well as a farm stand, and they're bringing in between $200,000 and $300,000. Silas Doyle Burr, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Andy.
So I just painted the picture of your farm. How would you describe what you do in one sentence?
Well, we're a small-scale, family-owned, diversified, certified organic farm producing 27 different crops, including veggies, berries, maple syrup, hay, and hemp. I'm sorry if that was a run-on sentence.
No, that was good. So the last 3 episodes we recorded with you, we chatted about coolers and humidity-controlled rooms. We talked about strawberries and extending the season even late into the fall. And then the last episode we recorded was all about adding hemp to your already very diverse farm. This episode, we want to cover a few things that aren't necessarily topic specific while we're recording because it's fun and we'll learn something new. So the first question I'm going to ask is, tell me a little bit about a time when you felt really successful farming.
That's a great question. Yeah, because, I mean, there are days where it feels like, oh, there's so many things that are happening that are great, and then there are other days where it feels like, oh, is anything working right? But I think the time when I feel most successful is when interacting with customers and with the, overarching community in general. And so I do think pick your own strawberries are such a big part of the farm. I think even more so than the inflow of revenue, but the inflow of happiness. I think you see so many smiling faces, so many young kids who are getting sort of their hands dirty and faces dirty with strawberries. But that to me is sort of the most fun that we really have, and that's it makes it all worthwhile.
Pick your own strawberry season.
Yeah.
Let's turn that upside down and share a time when you felt really challenged farming, and hopefully that's not every day besides strawberry season.
Well, I think that having challenges and facing them every day is it's almost a goal, because that's what makes farming fun. I mean, where do I start, right? This is not a list long enough in terms of what is the biggest challenge. It's got to be inclement weather, just and that's why you mentioned that we're putting up 3 more hoop houses. One of them will be a heated greenhouse. Just such limited control over the weather, and what has been, so we do 80 acres of hay, and that's been a significant source of revenue for us. This is dry hay. It requires 3 full days of good weather, and the past 2 seasons, so this was my 3rd season, we had a little bit better season in terms of second cut, but the 2 seasons before were a real challenge to get to come even with that. I guess I want to just say that the past 3 seasons that since I've taken the reins have been a real challenge with that crop. it just seems like getting 3 days in a row of dry weather where the grass and clover mix has had adequate amounts of moisture to grow has been a real challenge. And so, I guess the weather's been the biggest challenge, but with any challenge comes opportunity, Andy. And so, I'm excited to see, where the direction of the farm goes, having, more tools to control the environment.
I like how you pointed out how it requires 3 full days of sunny weather to dry down the hay. And that's an important thing to talk about, because I was chatting with somebody not from the Northeast United States, and where they do hay, they don't even need to like ted it. So like that's an odd thing, and tedding it like day after day after day, and then raking it up and then baling it, like that's like they can't even fathom farming like that. Yeah. And it's like, well, we're struggling.
It's stressful. Yeah. I mean, because when you're in day 3 and the weather forecast says possible chance of rain 40%, and you're doing that final rake to get that nice windrow before baling, or you're rushing the baler out and you're just praying, oh man, I hope it doesn't break down. It's stressful, but fortunately this past season we got lucky and got a good amount of bales under cover.
All hands on deck.
Yeah, exactly.
Hay days are fun. Yeah. We do a lot of that ourselves. How have your practices or decisions been influenced by podcasts or other forms of learning?
Substantially. I've, first and foremost learned so much from my parents, but we're all standing on the shoulders of giants, and, impacts us throughout all facets of life. But there are just so many individuals who have done really good podcasts through the conferences that I've gone to, other farms that I've visited, social media now. All of those are immense resources to learn, and farming's a great industry too, because there are definitely farms that are really tight-lipped about trade secrets, but given the scale that we are and sort of the customer base, I mean, there's not that type of competition, and I think that most farmers are really open about sort of share their secrets, and there's a sort of an understanding that we're all in this together, and I'm immensely appreciative of it.
So what other trade secrets in this agricultural world that you would be most excited to benefit from, or what are you looking to learn more about?
Well, when we did the podcast on strawberry production, I did mention that labor is, as an organic farmer, I think that anything that you can do to reduce labor costs, I think that's the most important issue for me, and is only going to become more and more important. Wages are going up, and that's a good thing. Unemployment's low, also a good thing. But there are going to be significant impacts on farmers, and also, all the issues with immigration. And just last week, I found out that the adverse wage, wages that you pay H-2A employees, and we do have one Jamaican who worked for us last year, and hopefully next year we'll have 2, has gone up over $1 an hour. And that's Keith, the Jamaican, he worked a lot of hours for us. That's going to be hard to absorb. At the same time, prices of produce have not gone up. So any way that we can mechanize more, or just become more efficient and reduce the amount of labor that's required, will be hugely beneficial.
Let's chat about the H-2A program just a little bit.
Sure.
Was this your first time getting a guy, and what made you decide to do that?
It was our first time, so this past year. And it's really, we just had issues, seems pretty across the board for more seasonal operations, to have had immense difficulty maintaining employees for a number of years. And that's, at most we'll have people stay 3-4 years, and then you invested significant human capital, and there's been a lot of training, and then all of a sudden it's gone. And totally understand that, there's not a significant ladder to climb. Wages aren't super high, and it's really hard work. So that's been the reality of hiring local. And there are immense benefits to, I think, the local community, and it's fun to kind of see the farm grow as the community does, and have people start from high school, and then see where people end up going, and the impacts that they have on agriculture and our lives at large is fun to see. But just, training is really costly. And so having this one guy just being guaranteed that he'll come back every year now is very comforting. And so I can't speak to how over the long term it will be, and it does seem like there is upward pressure on wages right now, and a little bit of uncertainty with immigration, at least with the current administration. So, but it's worked out so far, and I'm excited to, now that we have gone through 1 year of training with Keith, to see how that works out the second year.
When you made the decision that you wanted to bring Keith on board, was it a difficult process to do, or pretty easy to get it worked out?
It's a costly process, and one of the biggest challenges is housing. So you're required to provide housing. We just got lucky that a neighbor was willing to house him, and at an affordable price. I think that a goal of ours in the future is to build on-farm housing, but we'll have to see how that goes, and I can come back and talk about expenses if I do go through that in the next couple of years. But other than that, you hire a company to do all the visa work, and
Gotcha.
you could navigate that system yourself, but I think it'd be immensely challenging, and so really it just means that you're paying a little bit more, and so the costs. I haven't added up everything, but I think it's going to end up being close to $16, $17 an hour when all is said and done. And I've seen other farms our scale or larger head in that direction with getting more H2A employees, and they have all rave reviews, and I would say the same. So that's if farms haven't explored that option, I would strongly advise them to.
Well, thanks for sharing your input on that subject there.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other topics that this podcast could answer questions for? You'd mentioned any possible way to reduce labor. Is there anything else? Any other practices that stand out that you'd like other people's viewpoints on?
So I managed through a series of seems like infinite spreadsheets, and I think that there are a lot of new strategies as to how to manage the farm from a software perspective, and I know that I've explored a little bit Farm OS, and I'd just be curious, sort of, what are people using for ways to organize and maintain good records for everything from food safety to crop schedule, production, and sales, and if that's been people have found a good way to streamline everything. I think the challenge is, I guess you don't want to become too dependent on any one type of software. But yeah, I'd be curious how other farmers are navigating that.
Yeah, that'd be a good topic for sure. What are you excited about in the next year of your farming life?
Being hopefully a better, leaner farmer. So we're really not. We talked about hemp, and maybe we'll grow that again. I'm not sure, but really not changing the crop mix much, and just trying to reach out and hopefully find some new accounts, but just trying to do better with less. And so it's like, we talked about labor and how that's such a significant expense. There are so many ways that I think I could improve this. So, this coming season will be my fourth. And, so just being better every year. It's gotten easier. And, I feel like maybe we'll get some good weather the next couple of years. Obviously can't bank on that, but
one day out of the three.
Yeah, one day out of the three. And having 6 high tunnels instead of 3 is going to be amazing. So I'm really excited about that too.
Yeah, high tunnels and having infrastructure is definitely something worth being excited about.
Certainly.
What are you doing when you listen to podcasts?
So many things. There's, a lot of manual labor, but I've also found that doing certain repair work is good. Tractor work is actually great. So if people don't have Bluetooth headphones, they should definitely do that. Definitely invest in that. So many things, even when I'm at home doing the dishes, whatever. Yeah. And I'll be certain to check out, your future episodes here, and I'm sure I'll learn a lot. So thanks in advance.
Sounds good. I'll try to keep the episodes entertaining and educational. Is there anything else that you wanted to share that I didn't bring up before we close out?
I think I'm all dried up.
All
Thanks
right.
so much for having me, Andy.
Sounds good. Thanks for being on the show. And if people are looking for more ways to follow you and your farm, how can they get a hold of you?
They could, again, shameless plug, they could reach out on or find us on Facebook, Instagram, Last Resort Farm is the handle, or could explore our website, which is www.lastresortfarm.com, and both my email and phone number are on there. So, please reach out if you have any questions.
Sounds good. Thanks for coming on the show, and I hope you have a great day.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. I hope you go ahead and subscribe, share this with a friend, or leave us a comment. And if you want more information, check out the show notes on our website at agengpodcast.com. That's agengpodcast.com. Thanks for listening. I hope you have a great day.
The proceeding has been a production of University of Vermont Extension. For more information on Extension, log on to www.uvm.edu/extension.